Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Rev Trev, and I'm just warning you right now, if you're Canadian, you might get triggered by this video, so just prepare yourself just for a moment. Today my topic is going to be must Canadians cheer for Canadian teams? Now some of you are going to say no, of course not, but what I'm talking about is in the playoffs. In the playoffs, do you have to cheer for a Canadian team? Now let me premise by saying I love living in Canada. I love being a Canadian. I love living in beautiful British Columbia. Great province to live in. My favorite province so far that I've seen. And there's absolutely nothing about me that is not Canadian. I just love Canada, okay? I'm Canadian through and through, all right? But when it comes to the playoffs, do I, because my Canucks didn't make it again, do I have to, because I'm Canadian, cheer for a Canadian team in the playoffs? My answer is just a complete no. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do anything. I don't have to cheer for a team that's made it. Let me explain to you why I mean this. Because I get a lot of pushback. What do you mean you're not cheering for the Canadian team? It's like, well, I'm not a fan of the team, so why would I start? For example, Vancouver has a rivalry with Calgary, right? Most Canuck fans cannot stand the Calgary Flames. And the feeling's mutual. Like, Calgary Flames fans don't, like, cheer for Vancouver all of a sudden because we're in the playoffs and they're not. By the way, they didn't make the playoffs either. It made me super happy. But, like, I can't stand the Flames, right? And so now, if they had made the playoffs and I have to flip a switch and say I'm going to cheer for them, it just doesn't make any sense, right? Why would I do that? Now, granted, this year it's the Jets and the Leafs and the Oilers that have made it. No other Canadian team, Canadians, Senators, Flames, Canucks, all missed the playoffs, right? And so it's sad. So people want to say, well, we need the cup back in Canada. And it's like, well, yes and no. And let me explain to you why. Okay? So the big argument is that, you know, we need the cup in Canada, but the rebuttal is there might not be that many Canadian teams on those Canadian teams. For example, the Canucks, for years, maybe even a decade, we were basically Team Sweden. We had so many Swedes on our team. And it's like, so you're cheering for this team that's located in Vancouver, but now, like, we have so many Swedes that it's absolutely, like, we're just basically, we could change our colors and nobody even blink an eye, right? A few years ago when St. Louis made the finals, they had the most Canadians on their team than any other team had Canadians in the entire NHL or in the remaining of the playoffs. So they were begging fans, or not begging, encouraging fans, why don't you come jump on our bandwagon and cheer for us? So, because if you cheered for St. Louis, you're basically cheering for Canada. And that was one of their kind of things. So do you have to cheer for a team because they have lots of Canadians? Do you have to cheer for a team because they're in a place? I just say, hey, cheer for the team that you like. I mean, if it happens to be Canadian team, great. Now, I'm a Canucks fan. It's been 40 years of suffering that we haven't won a cup. I mean, we've had some good years, but we've had some really bad years too, right? So let's just look at the Canucks, for example, this season, okay? So let's see how many Canadians are on Vancouver. First, we have one Czech, Hranek, that we just just traded for. We have three Swedes in Aman, Pedersen, and OEL. And then we have four Russians, Kuzmenko, who's a superstar, in my opinion as well, Mikheyev, Kravtsov, and Podkolzin. And then here's an interesting thing. We have 9 Canadians on the team. Now, that sounds like a lot, right? But it's actually not the most in the league. We have Beauvillier, PDG, Pearsons, Stanika, Bear, Burrows, who's from Vancouver, by the way, Brisebois, Dermott, Hirose, like all those are Canadians. So we have 9 Canadian players. But you know that we have 12 Americans on our team. And some of them are absolutely stellar. Both our goalies are from the United States, Demko and Delia, JT Miller, Quinn Hughes, right? You have Poolman, Myers, McWard, McDonough, Joshua, Garland, Dries, Brock Besser. Like, these are U.S. players. 12, we technically could be a little bit like Team USA here. Now, here's the thing. Like, the Edmonton Oilers actually have a lot of Canadians on their team. They have 14 Canadians on their team. So there's the lots of Canadians on their team, plus they're from Canada. I don't mind the Oilers, by the way. But the Kings only have 8 Canadians. They have 8 out of 6 people from the U.S., but they have 11 from outside of North America. So they are definitely not even USA-based players, right? So, and then if you look at Toronto, for example, they have 9 U.S. players. They have 16 Canadians. That's a lot. 6 outside of North America. I just went and looked at their team and then went to their rosters and just started looking. I literally started researching all this stuff for the video. So, but Tampa Bay has 11 Canadians on it who they play in the first round, right? 6 from the United States, 6 from outside. I mean, it depends on what you're looking at here. Okay, now let's just talk quickly about the Jets. The Jets, Winnipeg, Winterpeg, as they like to call it, right? 10 Canadians, 9 from the U.S., 8 from outside. But Vegas, the team that they're playing, if you started cheering for Vegas, you were like, what? You're not Canadian, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if Vegas put like their whole lineup, their whole roster online for this compared to the others, but they have 21 Canadians on their team. 21. In fact, I think only one of their goalies and one of their defensemen are from the United States. Everyone else is from Canada, from the blue line and in the goal, right? So this is what I'm trying to say is, like, just because Canucks aren't in it, do I have to cheer for Winnipeg? Do I have to cheer for Edmonton? Do I have to cheer for Toronto? In fact, I actually wouldn't mind if all those teams won those series, but I don't have to do that. It's just like, listen, I'm an NBA fan, right? Growing up, I loved the Bulls and I loved the Sonics. And man, like, those two teams were absolutely amazing. Bulls are my favorite. Michael Jordan, the GOAT, the greatest. You know, you look at the Sonics; they were awesome. Gary Payton, Sean Kemp. Those are fun years, right? And then they're gone. So those are State's teams. And then I loved watching Golden State. I really enjoyed watching Chris Webber, Tim Hardaway, the Killer Crossover, Chris Mullins, all that kind of stuff, right? I love watching the NBA. And then Vancouver gets a team and Toronto gets a team. Now, of course, I'm going to go to Grizzly games. So let's be honest, we were awful, horrific, terrible. Then the Raptors come in and I'm like, well, I'd rather cheer for the Grizzlies than Toronto. So I end up cheering for the Grizzlies over Toronto. So now the Grizzlies move. They go down to Memphis or Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City Thunder got the Seattle team, and so this is like they move out of the city. And now because I'm Canadian, I have to cheer for the Raptors. I don't mind the Raptors. In fact, I think the best years of being a Raptors fan was Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady years. But I mean, obviously they won a championship with Kawhi, with Siakam, all those guys. But because I like the Golden State Warriors better, and Steph Curry, who doesn't like Steph Curry? And we all know that in that finals, if Klay Thompson doesn't get injured, we know that if KD doesn't get injured, there's no way the Raptors are beating the Golden State Warriors. But now I can't take away that title. They got a title, they deserve it. I was cheering for the Warriors, okay? In baseball, I live close to Seattle. I cheer for the Seattle Mariners. I've gone to playoff Mariners games, but being Canadian, I cheered for the Toronto Blue Jays. I grew up watching their championships. I always cheer for the Toronto Blue Jays, right? Montreal Expos. Loved watching some of those games, that I was a Blue Jays fan over a Expos fan. So, because we didn't have one here in Vancouver. So this is a video just to say, like, do you have to? No, you don't have to. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I've heard a lot of people, you're not really Canadian if you don't like this. It's like, you have to like the CFL better than the NFL. It's like, why? Like, I'm glad there's a CFL, but the NFL is so much better than the CFL, and it just is. It's just like, it's like the Canadians want to be playing in the NFL, want to be making U.S. money, want to be in the U.S. because that's the best place to play in the NFL. So I just think at the end of the day, you don't have to do that. What do you think? Post in the comments. I'd love to hear some feedback from you. And thanks so much for watching. I don't think that Canadians have to. You can choose to cheer for whoever you want. But of course, I want the Canucks to win a cup one day. And hey, if the Oilers win the Stanley Cup this year, or the Toronto Maple Leafs, I'd be like, hey, that would be pretty cool too. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. I don't mind seeing other teams win it as well. Depends who you want to see. Have a great day. Hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you soon.